model of multiplication in class, but this tutorial will be used to help you remember the steps that we use so that you can go back and review it whenever you need to use the area model of multiplication. So let's take a look at what we have here. We have 135 times 20. And remember, we set up a area or a rectangle, and we divide it into the number of spaces that we're going to need for the place value. So I take a look at 135, and I'm dividing 135 into 100 plus 30 plus 5. So that means I need 3 columns here for the place value for those numbers. And then I'm taking 20 and I'm breaking 20 into 15 plus 5. So I also need 2 rows. So altogether there's 6 sections to this chart that need to be filled in. Once you have your chart made or your model made, then you multiply, and we're going to multiply the length times the width using terminology that you would use in geometry, or we're going to multiply the horizontal by the vertical. Whichever way you want to say it, it's fine. 100 times 15. Remember, we're going to use mental math to be able to help us do this, so I don't want you guys looking at 100 and go, I don't know. 15 times 1 is 15, and then you're going to write 2 zeros after. So you would have as your answer, see, there you go, 1,500. Okay? 100 times 15 is 1,500. Now we're going to multiply 30 times 15. And what would you get? Well, 3 times 15 is 45. And then you're going to write 1 0 after that, and you will have 450. And then you're going to multiply 15 times 5. Well, 15 times 5 is 75. Now we're going to multiply the bottom row, and I'm going to multiply 100 times 5. Again, 1 times 5 is 5. Write 2 zeros after, and you have 500. 30 times 5. Well, 3 times 5 is 15, and I'm going to write 1 0, and I'm going to have 150. 5 times 5 is 25. I don't have any zeros that I'm going to have to write, so I have 25 in that box. Now you have all of these sections of this area model filled in. Now what you're going to do is add them all together, add all of your products together to get the final product of 135 times 20. Well, in this box here, I have all of that done. 1,500 plus 450 plus 500 plus 150 plus 75 plus 25 gives you a total of 2,700. So now let's try the area model with the second example that I have. Again, your area model rectangle is already filled in, and you've got 130 times 58. And I have broken 100 into 100 plus 30 plus 0. Now remember, in class, some of you said, do I really need to put this here? And we had talked about if you're looking at 3 figures here and someone is still not quite certain about the area model, and if we only had 2 sections here, they might get a little confused. But if you're multiplying by a 0, your answer is going to be 0. So 58 I've divided into 50 and 8. And again, we're going to do the same thing. Multiply 100 times 50. Well, 1 times 5 is 5, and then you're going to write 3 zeros after, and you'll have 5,000. 50 times 30, multiply 5 times 3, you've got 15, write 2 zeros after, you have 1,500. 50 times 0, well, that's 0. 8 times 100, well, 8 times 1 is 8, and then write 2 zeros after for 800. 8 times 30, Well, 8 times 3 is 24, and then write 1 0 after for 240. 8 times 0, that's 0. So when you add your products, adding 0 to a number still gives you that same number. So we're going to combine our whole numbers that we have here and get a product of 7,540. So that's the area model of multiplication. Now we're going to go to this example for lattice multiplication, and I'm going to work through this with you so you can see what's happening. I've got, it looks similar to the area model that we had in that I've got 3 columns and 2 rows, but notice I have a diagonal line that I have drawn through each of the sections of the model or the chart. Also notice I am not showing place value. Here's 135, but I did not write 100 plus 30 plus 5. I wrote 1, 3, 5. And for 58, I didn't write 50 plus 8. I put 5 and 8. So we are not showing place value in lattice multiplication. And I have 5 times 5. So I'm going to start multiplying again. The horizontal times the vertical. 5 times 5. And notice I wrote the ones place in the lower section and the tens in the higher. So there's 25. 3 times 5 is 15. 5 goes in the ones place, 1 goes in the tens place for 15. 1 times 5. Well, 1 times 5 is 5. So I write the 5 in the ones place. There are no tens in 5. It's a single digit number. So I put a 0. Now I'm going to multiply 5 times 8. Well, 5 times 8 is 40. And 40, you have no ones, so there's a 0, and 4 tens. So there's your 40. 3 times 8 is 24. Put 4 in the ones place, 2 in the tens place. 8 times 1 is 8. Again, you have a single digit. There are no tens. So you have 8 in the ones place and 0 in the tens place. Notice the dotted lines that I've drawn here. This is because we're going to add these numbers on the diagonal. So I'm going to look at this first section here for this diagonal. All I have is a 0. So I write a 0. Now I'm going to add 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. I'm going to write the 3, but I'm going to carry the 1 here. So I've got my 3 written here. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17, plus the 1 that I carried is 18. So I'm going to write my 8, and then I'm going to carry the 1. 5 plus 1 is 6, 1 more is 7. So then I take my numbers that I have in the diagonal and I just write them out for my product. 7,830. Let's try one that we can fill in together. Okay? And I'm going to put 246. And we're going to multiply that by 24. Again, I am not showing place value. So when I wrote 246, I put 2, 4, 6. When I wrote 24, I put a 2 and a 4. Okay, so now let's go ahead and multiply this one. 6 times 2, well, that's 12. I'm going to write 2 in the ones place, 1 in the tens place for 12. 4 times 2, that's 8. I have a single digit. So there's the ones place. I don't have anything in the tens place. 2 times 2 is 4. Again, That's a single digit. There are no tens. So I put a 0 here. So I've got my first row filled out. Now I'm going to go to multiplying by the 4. 6 times 4, well, that's 24. Again, I'm going to write the 4 in the ones place, the 2 in the tens place. 4 times 4, that's 16. 6 in the ones place, 1 in the tens place for 16. 2 times 4, well, that's 8. Again, I've got a single digit. So I've got my 8 and a 0 because there are no tens. Now I'm going to go follow my diagonals, and I'm going to add up everything in that diagonal row. Well, I only have a 4 here, so I'm going to write the 4. Now I've got 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. I'm going to write my 0 for the 10, and I'm going to carry a 1. Okay? 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10, plus 8 is 18, plus 1 more is 19. I'm going to put the 9 and carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 5, and then I have zeros. So 0 times any number gives you 0. And now I'm going to write these numbers as my product. 5,904. And that's the lattice method of multiplication. Nice.